But this is what I was really trying to get at, and maybe you guys have missed this. So when I was being trained as a yogi, I say this a lot, part of my sadhana, daily practice, was I had to read scripture 1 hour a day. It was obligatory. And then whenever I was distressed, depressed, confused, I would read scripture. And in fact, I've started that again, and do you know what happens? Especially now that I can digest it. My mood gets up. How do you feel, even if you can't digest it all? If you sit down with the Bhagavad Gita for an hour, how do you feel after that hour? Joe?
Yeah, it's almost like a part of you is being heard or understood, right? There's a knowing in you that maybe is starting to resonate, so better, sure.
You know why? This is what a friend said. I remember I was a member of the Hare Krishna community in England, in Watford, England. And it's the largest Hare Krishna community outside of India. And so what was really nice about that is you could always go to the temple and there'd be somebody there you can get into a deep conversation with. And I remember I got to the temple, I was super upset or depressed about something. I get there, I see my friend Gopal, and I start bitching. Gopal this, blah, blah, blah. He goes to me, sit down here. I'll be back. Storms off, comes back with a Bhagavad Gita. He goes, read this. I'll be back. Goes off, comes back in an hour. He's like, how do you feel? He's like, I can't remember what I was upset about. And this is what he said. He said, you know why? It is a divine transmission, whether you fully understand it or not. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to get in touch with. This divine energy itself is transformative. And in the beginning, you're going to understand so little. It's from a different culture. And it's also, I'm going to tell you this, superhuman philosophy. A human couldn't have done it. And where have you read a human, any human, produce something like the Bhagavad Gita? There's nothing like it. No human being has ever produced any philosophy that matches. And you know who also says this? The greatest philosophers. Thoreau said it. Like there's so many other people who actually said it. Gandhi. Thoreau said, daily, every morning I bathe my intellect in the stupendous something of the Bhagavad Gita. Right? And then he said also something like, I forgot that quote, I didn't even remember the quote. He said, in comparison by which all of our Western philosophies seem, small, and he was just like, basically the Bhagavad Gita is like this. And everything else that we've produced in the West is like that. And that's the truth. But what I've taken to also is listening to talks, lectures, audiobooks, whatever. But actually what I'm doing is I'm listening to spiritual teachings that resonate, as opposed to just hanging out and letting your mind just wander. Because your mind is always being fed illusions. It's also being fed a lot of negative stuff. So you need to counter that flow by feeding with positive. The Hare Krishnas used to have a teaching. Prajalpa basically means nonsense talk, but they were like any talk that doesn't center on the divine. For a yogi, that's your goal, to unite with the divine. So if it's not centering on the divine or getting you closer to the divine, it's prajalpa. They were like, don't do it. And they said, how do you not allow your mind to gauge in the prajalpa of self-talk? Cut it off and just listen to spiritual teachings, So that's what I started doing, to be honest, not to puff myself up or anything, but I went and reviewed some of my own stuff that Sada's been recording. And I've been like, oh, that's useful. You know why? Because I'm teaching it. I have to refresh my mind with it daily. Daily. Here's another thing. Abdel, have you read the Bhagavad Gita and then gone back to it and read the same verse? Where you like, oh, I got this already.
Oh, it's always different.
You know what they say about these scriptures? They're ever new. You can read the Bhagavad Gita 1,000 times. Now granted, I've read it so much sometimes that I've taken a break from it. But then, when life starts impinging upon me, I go back and it's new again. It reminds you of the truth over and over and over and over and over again. And you know what? The founder of the Hare Krishna woman used to say this. He used to say, only spirit can do that. There's nothing that you can read 1,000 times and get something out of it the 1,000th time unless it's divine.
I know a Hindu guy here named Arun. He must be in his 60s. And I was talking to him the other day. He's like, oh yeah, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita. I'm like, oh, I'm reading it too. And I'm like, oh, I'm telling him, oh, I'm here. He's like, oh, I'm on this verse, this verse. He's like, yeah, but I read one line and then meditate for a day on it.
Wow. Oh, I was going to say that, absolutely.
It's like, I'm getting there. He's like, I'm getting there.
Oh, and right. Actually, people have said this. If you could assimilate to its core one verse, that'd be enough to get liberated from all sorrow. If you could actually live one of those verses, right? This is how profound and sublime these powerful scriptures are. And so this is how we can do it. How can we do it? We can read scripture. This is satsang. So what we're engaged in right now is satsang, which means coming together for truth. Scripture is satsang when you don't have anybody else around. A lecture or spiritual discussion, it's satsang when you don't have anyone else around. And this is satsang. It's good to get into groups of people discussing truth. How about this? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are devoted to me gain great pleasure and delight from always conversing about me and in enlightening one another about my nature. Isn't this pleasant, what we're doing? Right? Discussions of truth are actually pleasing. Right? And they're not like this false stimulation. There's something that's pleasing to our inner self when we do this. That's also. But even more. So I'm going to go further and I'm going to move forward.